Dominic wants us to believe that McKinley has a Jekyll and Hyde personality. She also mentioned on Married at First Sight after party that he uses her as a target. She is his scapegoat. Now, did you watch the episode that she was discussing?
Welcome to Cliff Alerts. Today we're going to be talking about Lifetime Network's reality-based TV series Married at First Sight, season number 16, episode number 8.
But before we get into it, please like, share, and subscribe. Please click that like button so we can do better in the algorithm. And please share and send us your comments. This is a crash and burn situation that's unfolding before our eyes. Uh, McKinley goes over to Dominique's apartment,
For the first time for Mac.
and you see that she's proud of her space. She's glad to be home. And she tells him that he needs to explore her space. But he is not so enthused. He
According
he
to her.
yeah. And he tells her that, you were so negative when you saw the space that I'm living in. I'm not gonna go beyond the boundaries of just saying your space is nice.
You use an interesting word, boundaries.
Right,
It seems like Mac has more respect for their boundaries than Dom does.
right. She wanted him to articulate more than what was there. And I think what she don't understand is what an introvert is and how they act and how they respond. Her expectation is just out of bounds.
And see, that's where I was going with it. Her expectations. I don't think that they were in line with his reality.
No,
They were clearly something that she had kind of invented in her own mind and expected him to be accountable for as a result of that.
right.
And that's not how things work. She's going to be respectful of the boundaries in her particular space because it's still her space and act accordingly. And like you said, um, when the shoe was on the other foot, Dom
She didn't give him that at all.
didn't
She didn't give
have
him that
that
grace.
in her
Her DNA.
right, exactly. She just said what came to mind, and not only that too, but she also put her expectations of where she thought he should be out right there on the table, okay, not knowing anything about him and his basic you know, journey to this particular point.
He's talking about his dog. Evidently, he left the dog back home because he's staying with his friends temporarily.
Right, right.
And he's talking about bringing the dog and the dog meeting her and acclimating back into his life.
Hmm.
And she, of course, have a boundary as it relates to the dog. And he wants to talk about the dog, and she told him there are far many things they can be discussing than his dog. Someone who is just like, don't even want to discuss what I love, that means that it's all about you
She came off to me in that exchange as rude and inconsiderate,
and nasty.
yeah, and dismissive of her
Right.
husband's life leading up to this point and the relationships and the bonds that he had made, like you said, with a pet. Now, I don't understand what she thought she would get out of coming at him like this, but it damn sure wasn't anything positive. Oh, but she's got some criticisms about her husband being negative.
She wants us, the audience, to believe that he's the one who's been pushing negativity at her, that the producers are not showing when he goes off, and that she is his target. All right, then. If she's sitting there trying to do a fugazi on us, she got to know that we're gonna find out exactly what's what.
Well, here's the thing from my vantage point. Those of us who've, maybe been around for a little bit can basically see through some stuff. We don't have the whole picture, but there are certain little things that are revealed, certain little times that kind of let people know, or yeah, they reveal where people are really at. some of the things that she said and all that to Mac and about Mac. I don't know whether she realizes it or not, but it doesn't make her nor her representative look good.
So they get back to the apartment, and he is moving them in basically. And he asks her whether she wants to bring her bags in or what have you, and she says she's not feeling it. And they have a discussion about who is not getting what each other signed up for. He told her that she has been critical to him, and about his living space, about his living arrangement. And he said he has been giving her grace. He has not been complaining the way she has been complaining about him. And he believes he's not getting what he wants. She, same thing. She got her ought with him. At one point, she goes out on the balcony and said that he is negative, that she's tired and she wants to go home. And the producers asked her if she wants to take her bags downstairs, and she said yes. So she gathered her stuff and she left.
Well, it sounds like a typical reaction of a 25-year-old.
And her opinion is the only one that counts. She got to know she can't carry that in a marriage because it's going to go sideways and it's going to go sideways fast.
She acts like she wants to be married to her damn self.
Right. And selfishness never works in a marriage. It's a toxic stew that poisons everything, and it will never work in a marriage. After 3 days, they still hadn't spoken to each other. This is when they meet with Pastor Carl.
Hmm.
And he comes over, and McKinley is at one far end of the couch and she's at the other. Her hands are folded and she, like if she's ready for war. Pastor Carl sits down and he observes the negativity coming off of her. You can see she tried to self regulate herself, but the nastiness was still, exuding from her. And they both mentioned the upset.
Pastor Cal had an interesting question that got the wheels in Dom's head turning. He said, "Do you want to be married or do you want to be married on your terms?" And clearly the answer for Dom was, whether she realized it or not, I want to be married on my terms.
Yeah, because she goes to Married at First Sight after party and
Mhm.
she's blaming Mac for everything that went down. And she claims the victimization. She claims that he uses her as a target and that he
Scapegoat.
had a scapegoat
Mhm.
and that he had a Jackal and Hyde personality. Now,
Oh, and
I
also too, she maintains that she's trying to keep an
she's trying to
open-minded
keep an
approach
open mind.
to this whole idea of being married to Mac.
The only thing that's open is her mouth complaining about the man.
Yeah, and
That's about it.
as far as closed-mindedness is concerned, it certainly shows up in her actions
Right.
towards Mac. So
W-
I don't know what she expects us to believe, what she's saying or what she's showing. Because
She,
I'm believing what she's showing.
at no time you hear her affirming him.
But one thing I just thought about that you haven't heard her do as well is take any sort of uh, responsibility and or accountability for her negativity that she's brought.
She needs to have a little more positive affirmations for the person who she has married rather than a continuous journey through the valley of negativity that she seemed to be putting forth.
And she needs to get rid.
At least based on what we see right now.
I agree, and also too, I think she needs to get a hold of her expectations about her husband, and deal with the reality of who he is,
Right,
and that be, the starting point for her really getting to know him, and accepting him and valuing who he is,
right.
not who she expects him to be, not who she was hoping that she would get, but who he actually is.
I think that this situation right now is stewing in pettiness, and I hope that they get beyond it because Dominique is going on other shows and she's dragging McKinley. We hope they pull it together, but it doesn't seem likely. There's some maturity that has to happen, and I don't think that they'll get there in um 8 weeks. There was some sort of sexual connection between them, but you see two people and they really don't look like they even like each other at this point.
Yeah,
And
they're drifting.
you can't really get into each other when one McKinley said he's spiraling and he doesn't appreciate her constant negativity, and the other person thinks their relationship is all about her and her opinion. They don't like each other. And to be married, you gotta you gotta like the person
At the
you're
very least, yeah.
laying down with. You have to. So that's all we have. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. We'll see you in the next bit. Have a good one.
Pulling for Dom and Mac, but I don't know. I
No,
ain't seen it.
this experiment for them is not going to work. And that's all I got to say about that. Bye.
See ya.